And we're live.
So I think today we should talk about relationships and meditation. What do you think?
Those are two deep talking points.
Well, and I think for you and I in the last, I don't know, forever, but the last 5 years especially, we have grown in our spiritual slash mental and emotional health significantly. And I think it'd be a really good topic for our listeners to hear. And I think as somebody who are people who are a couple who are married, how important it is to grow together and to learn together, heal together, etc. So
Yeah, I think that's a good discussion point. You kind of started you've always kind of been the starter of the growth, I would say. I've just kind of followed the
well,
lead.
yeah, so like a few years ago, when I was sick, my holistic doctor encouraged me to meditate to bring my cortisol level down, and I tried it at first, and I was like it's not for me. And then I'm like, nope, I'm gonna keep doing this because I was paying this money to get better and to learn new things and to be open minded. And Western medicine wasn't working for me. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna meditate. I'm gonna practice. And I didn't like it at first. And then all of a sudden something just clicked for me where it was like this profound shift where I could feel this sense of calm. I could feel my own essence. I could feel my own energy, and like some really powerful things happened for me with meditation. But it took me months to get there, and I had to practice, and I knew that. But
Months or maybe years
no, no,
to
no,
get
to
to.
months to feel it,
Oh,
to
okay.
even feel a little bit of it. I mean, years to get me to these points of like where I feel like I can get downloads or just information or just get
Right.
very relaxed and be able to shut my mind off completely. And I remember encouraging you to try it, and you were like, "Yeah, I love that you're doing this. It's good for you, but I'm ADD. I have ADD, and my brain doesn't work this way." Do you remember saying that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I still sometimes, and I meditate, well, a lot more compared to, I mean, almost daily now. Um, and I still have moments where I feel like my mind is just
So do I.
running. But what I've learned is that the fact that I can acknowledge while I'm meditating that my mind is racing and I can bring it back to center. That's the intent of meditation, is to recognize when you are distracted or when your mind is wandering, because a lot of times your mind wanders and you don't even know that your mind's wandering. And that's the point of meditation, is to be able to recognize when your mind is wandering so that you have a little more control over that. Otherwise it's just kind of on its own little free reign a lot of the times.
Well, and it's scientifically proven that meditation has many health benefits. It's not just a spiritual practice. There's a lot of health benefits to longevity. Just neurogenesis of the mind, of the brain, reconnection of neurons in the brain, firing neurons in the brain, bringing cortisol down, relaxing the central nervous system. There's so much more, but those are just some things I know off the top of my head. And, I think meditation for both you and I has been this catapult, like in our relationship, of like taking us to this next level, of this next step or growth in our marriage and our relationship. And last year we went on this trip to Arizona, and we took this little camper van. We rented this little camper van, and we camped all around Arizona. And I remember saying to you, like, I really want to get up in the morning and I want to meditate because I was into it already. And you started with this app called Happier. Is that what it was?
Oh, it's like 1%, or maybe it's called Happier now. I think it changed names since I originally got it.
And that was something that like really helped you as a guided meditation, something small and short. But I remember going on this vacation and being and just saying, I want to go to Sedona. I want to go to the vortexes. I want to have this spiritual, just very relaxing vacation. And I wanted to incorporate. I wanted to incorporate the yoga. I wanted to incorporate yoga and meditation, and just be in nature. And you were game. You were going to do all the things that I was doing, but you weren't quite into it yet. Like you were like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll be there. But you ended up practicing a little bit on that vacation.
Yeah, I did. I was excited for the camping venture of the trip. Uh, Being out in the wilderness, kind of getting lost, which you weren't so excited about. You were excited about going to the vortexes and being in the Sedona area. And it took a little bit of, not a ton by
Yeah.
any means, but
Only when I got there, it was amazing. So that was
right.
probably my favorite part of the trip was
But
was nature.
It did take a little bit of persuading. You were kind of a, let's get an Airbnb. And then I think it was when I said, hey, look at it this way. If we have a camper van, we can do whatever we want. If we have an Airbnb, we're stuck at our Airbnb and we can only go so far. And you were like, fine, I trust you. Let's do it.
Well, we liked it enough that we booked another vacation
Well-
to do the same thing.
To be fair, you trusted me enough. First off, I trusted you enough to take a trip out to Arizona to go see vortexes when I had no idea what a vortex was at the time. And to do this spiritual, it wasn't even so much spiritual. It was just
is.
but it was more of a, for us, it was just more of a, you were interested in finding yourself and diving into, a path that was still pretty new to you. But you were really starting to dive into it. And to me, I had barely scratched the surface of it. So I trusted you and I'm like, okay, let's go out to Arizona. And you trusted me and said, okay, well, so we both kind of worked together.
Well,
on
and
that
since then, how has your perception of meditation changed, and how has it changed the growth of who you are compared to last year? Because we are going on the same exact trip, obviously different places in Arizona, camping different places, but we have grown so much in this past year, a ton, like in our meditation practice, in our spiritual practice, and in our healing journey, I think too. And so going on this trip now, what do you think is going to be different for you on this trip?
So I think I want to preface all this with the fact that I used to be the one that said, if we're going on vacation, we're taking the whole family. And my mentality behind that was that our kids are young, we're going to go see all these amazing things. I wanted them to be there with us to see them. You kind of were like, we need some you and I time. And I think that was our first real just you and I. We did have one trip prior to that, but I think this was like the first you and I where it was just going to be the two of us. And we were going to be with each other every single moment the entire time we were gone. So that was new to me, just going and leaving the kids at home and just going. But this was also kind of the first time that I took my over planning, I should say.
Thank goodness.
I took my over planning.
Every vacation that we go on together, this man has everything planned to a T, which is actually not bad for me because I'm just like this passenger princess that gets to go on these vacations. I literally pack my bag. I don't know what time the flight leaves. I don't even know what flight we're taking. I don't even know where we're going, or I don't know where we're flying out of.
To be fair, you still
It's
don't know
fantastic.
any of that.
No, I know. I said it's fantastic. So I'm not complaining that you have an itinerary, but I do want it to be a place where, or, a time for you to be like, let's just relax. But what's the difference? What is going to be the difference between last vacation for you in your spiritual practice compared to now? What do you think will be the difference for you?
Well, I was getting to that.
Wow.
Um, so we have, oh, I've always had stuff planned, and that was the first time that I kind of let go of the planning a little bit. I still had kind of a game plan, but it was more of just a game plan. We'll see how it plays out, and we'll move from there. Um, and I loved it. I loved every second of it. It was the I, first vacation for sure that I felt like free. Um, and it was you and we'd basically go to bed when the sun went down, maybe shortly after the sun went down, and we'd wake up when the sun came up. And,
Not true, because we'd watch the stars almost every
well,
night and we'd open up the doors and
okay,
just lay there. So,
we'd go to bed shortly after dark. Anyways, and so that was like my first real taste of kind of freedom and just ease.
like but a connection to nature, right? Like, don't you think that was a big part of it? It was,
Yeah.
we were so connected to nature. And not that, I mean, we live in a beautiful place that we get to be in nature all the time, but this was a little bit different. Like, we slept in nature. We had the doors open,
Yeah.
like it was camping in nature every single night. And that was such a connection for both of us.
And you can also check out. I mean, when we're at home, we never truly get to, I mean, yes, we do, but not for an extended period of time get to check out of, the day to day, everything that's going on, because there's always responsibilities at home. Even though we live in nature at home, we still have responsibilities. So even when you're trying to just relax a little bit, it's hard because you know that the chicken coop needs to get cleaned out, or, you got to mow some trails. So there's always that stuff. This was our first, or at least my first, of being able to just truly just kind of check out. So where I was going with this is the difference between then and now is I was just scratching the surface of meditation. And I think being, and I don't even know that I was back then, but now I am gonna, I've been meditating a lot more, but I think the biggest thing for me is I'm a lot more present than I was a year ago. Um, and so if you were to try to talk me into, and we did a little bit, but if you were to try to talk me into sitting on a rock in a vortex and meditating for a half hour last year, I probably would have for you. And I would have sat there and I probably would have twiddled my thumbs and been looking, checking things out. And I would have enjoyed it because it's beautiful there. But I think this time around, I think I'm going to be able to actually immerse myself a
Feel
little
the
bit.
vortexes and
Immerse
feel the
myself
energy.
a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
In the past year, I've learned that I do have an ability to feel energy more than I think the average person, and I never really knew that. I never really understood what was going on. I always knew that my body did some weird things, but I never really knew what it was. And in the past year, I've learned that what I'm feeling is energy, whether it's my own energy, whether it's energy from something else, but I can feel it. So I'm excited to see what this trip to Arizona brings, because now that I know how to gauge these things and monitor them. Not that I'm perfect with them by any means, but I can always tell when something changes, when something shifts now. Um, I'm interested to see what happens when we go there, because we talked about these vortexes last time. Um, and maybe you can talk a little bit more about them, but I didn't know anything about them. And it'll be interesting to go back and kind
Well,
of.
and it's cool because, like, they are energy centers of the earth, right? They call them like the chakras of the earth, or their chakra points of the earth, just like we. And if you don't believe that stuff, it's literally energy. We are all made up of energy. Everything is energy. And these vortexes, I know there's so much more information, but just like scratch the surface of it. Like, you can literally see them on trees that are there. Like I had to show you. I was like, I've read about this. Like you have to look at the trees. They're like twisted. They're all twisted into these. It's so hard to. I mean, they're twisted. That's what they
Yeah,
are. Like that's
they're
what
just
they look
twisted.
like. And it just shows you like that's where how those trees are growing because that's where the energy is how it's moving there. And there's some places when you go there you can literally feel it, and there's sacred sites and there's some beautiful um I mean sacred places that you get to go and experience these different energy centers of the world on the earth, right? But yeah, I just think that for our listeners, like just to understand like what meditation is and how it's changed for you and we homeschool our kids. I have a business at home at home and
And I work
from home
from home
for the
primarily.
most part. And so we're literally in each other's faces all day long, pretty much every day. And so, tension can rise quite a bit at our place. And so I think with meditation for us, it has been this blessing. And I think we need to practice more when it comes to, if you're starting to feel the feels, you're starting to feel people's energy in the house, like just to be able to take a few deep breaths and maybe step outside, get your bearings, feel your, you know what I mean, like bring that cortisol level down. There's so many other ways and reasons to be meditating, but that's just an example. Like if you are super stressed or you are angry or feisty or whatever, and especially like us women who have these hormones that fluctuate all month long, and you can call it PMS, you can call it perimenopause, menopause, whatever it might be that these women are going through, because our hormones shift all month long. Men are typically going to be pretty stable all month, but for me, I need to practice meditation more because my mood, I can be very happy, and then I can also be like, get this house clean, like let's go, like why is this place a mess? And then I'm like, no, stop it, like breathe. And I think for me, and I'm still working on this, but meditation is has helped me a ton to just to be able to relax and be okay with the mess or be okay with the chaos. And am I perfect at it? Absolutely not, but I'm working on it. And in our marriage, it has helped us significantly like grow closer together to understand our spirituality, our emotional health, our traumas like that we heal together and that we work through together. And so there's just so many beautiful things that has come from working on these holistic practices. And we only started like 5 years ago. 5 years ago, not fully submersed into it, like submerged into it, but it was I guess, was it 3 years ago, where we just really got into, where I got really into it, deep into it. And you, with like the help of different medicines and different sacred medicines, you went into like last summer where it completely shifted and you could feel energy and you could feel this new sense of you, like your own essence, your own being. And I mean, we don't have to go into that, but like just more, that was just a very helpful tool for you.
Yeah, I think it would be good to go back to the meditation a little bit because meditation can be intimidating um, because of all the things we've talked about, because of ADHD and because of everything that's going on in life, which they're all interlinked, ADHD and just having a plate full of everything and your mind's constantly racing about the things you need to do. Um, so when you talk about meditation, I think a lot of people think of, the photos, the typical stereotypical images of somebody sitting
A monk, yeah,
cross-legged with
or a
a
yogi.
straight, beautiful back and their hands out. Um,
Speaking of that, I should probably sit up taller.
yeah, I get. Anyways, but I think it's important to discuss different ways to meditate because that's not the only way to meditate, right? And so that's your primary practice of meditation, right?
and dancing in the kitchen and
Yeah.
cooking. Like that's my thing is I like to sit in nature or sit in my closet in a very dark room and sit there and meditate, do pranayama, which is breath work, and be very still and quiet or be grounded in nature and watch the sunrise. And there's different ways, and I love to dance. I love to dance. Am I good at it? I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. Like I can feel music and I love to dance, and it feels very grounding to me, and it makes me feel very present. Um, but you like to meditate on the tractor. Like if you are cutting trails, right? You feel like it's a very meditative experience for you. And so people have to realize too that not everything that we, practice when it comes to just sitting cross-legged is you like you just said, it's not the only way to practice meditation.
No, and I think the key word you said there was presence. And I think that's the key thing. So for me, when I'm um, on the tractor mowing trails, for the most part, I'm focused on the task at hand. And, there's not a lot of thought behind it. I mean, yes, I'm deciding which way I'm going and this and that, but you kind of are able to zone out. One big thing for me, which was a light for, I think, about how a lot of men and why men have some of their hobbies that they like to do, fishing or hunting, is because I found that for me, sitting in the woods hunting was probably one of the most meditative states I've ever been in, because when you're hunting, you're focused on what's going on around you, but mainly you are listening to what's going on around you. And to hear what's going on around you, you have to naturally shut your brain off to be able to truly engage in the sounds that are taking place around you. So I think men have this tendency to flock towards
And
going to,
some women.
and some women, but
Mm-hmm.
men, I say men because men don't typically jump into a meditation realm. It's a little more taboo for men to get into or finding that state of presence. Or
Western men.
yes, that's
Yeah.
fair. Um, but when you're sitting in the woods and you're listening for the crack of a twig or the huff of a deer, you're silent and you are tuning everything in your brain out so that you can hear every little sound that's going on around you. And it is so peaceful and calming because you are 100% present. And that was kind of, so this fall was kind of, now that I'm thinking of it, it all kind of clicks, was kind of my transition from meditating because my wife wanted me to meditate and I was trying, but I wasn't doing a very good job at it, to all of a sudden going, oh, this is the point of meditation. Like to be present and to be able to turn off all the noise that's going on in your brain and recognize when it turns back on and turn it off again.
And then
And
it can get so much deeper than that. Like we don't have to go super far into that either, but you can, you practice your presence and you practice shutting the noise off and the thoughts, and then something really cool happens. Like that's where I love meditation, is because I can get to a different world. Like I'm not here, and I do love to be here. Don't get me wrong, but you do tell me all the time, you are still 50% human. Like you still have to be on this earth. Um, I like to tell people, especially for people who think that meditation is, especially if you're a Christian, right? If you think that meditation is wrong or it's against the Bible or it's against God's word, it's not true. Like there's nothing wrong with meditation. I like to tell people that meditation or prayer is you talking to the divine, to God, to the universe, to the higher being or the higher energy source or whatever you believe in. And then meditation is that source talking to you. And it is very powerful. It is beautiful if you allow it and if you practice. But you have to practice. You have to practice these practice or this meditation, whether it's, there's thousands of ways to meditate, but there's so much of it, you have to allow yourself, just like anything, you can't be good at something immediately. I mean, some people maybe can, but you, just like anything, you need to practice in order to
Mm-hmm.
feel it and to get better at it. And then there's deeper practices, and then you get to learn more about meditation. Then you get to learn more about who you are and yourself. And we're not just this 3D being. You know, we have so much more to us, so much more depth to us. And that's where, like for me, when I was like, I really like meditation, I want you to practice this, like it's going to be really good for you, not only good for your ADD, you know, like it's not just good for that, but in your stress level, but it's just good for you to find yourself, to be one with yourself, and to really hone in on your inner being and go inward and love yourself, because so many of us, we miss that. Like we don't do that. We live in this like very materialistic world, right? If we, you know, we are so gung ho on the materialism that we forget about what's really important, and that's going to be the energy from us, like the love from us, the love for ourselves and then for everybody else. But if we're so focused on the outward expression of materialism, or our egos, etc., then we forget what's important.
Yeah.
Then we feel lost, and then we feel depressed, and then we have anxiety. We have all these things going on. So I'm a big advocate for meditation.
Yeah, and I think, one thing that I want to expand on what you talked about was taking care of yourself. Because in the world we live in today, I think there's a lot of outside pressure to make sure you're taking care of your family and you're taking care of others, and a lot of times we forget that we need to take care of ourselves, and we always put our family first and everybody around us first rather than prioritizing ourselves. And that was something that I really struggled with when somebody told me that I needed to prioritize myself first. And that once I started prioritizing myself, it would make my job, or my thought of what my job is, of taking care of my family, that much easier. And that just seemed, it didn't make sense. Like my brain was like, how can I do that? How can I just ignore my family and take care of myself? That's like the opposite of, and so that took a little bit of work to try to do that. And part of that was us going on a vacation together, just the two of us, was prioritizing myself, the two of us, and since I have started prioritizing myself, taking time to go meditate, going on a walk by myself,
Going to the gym by
going to the
yourself,
gym by myself, doing all these things that I
reading a
never,
book.
yeah, exactly. When the kids want to go downstairs and watch TV, no, you guys go. I'm going to go read a book for a half hour rather than go, I'll join you a little later. I felt like that was selfish for the longest time. Like it just seemed like I was being selfish. So I didn't like to do that. And then since we've been on this journey and I've been working on myself, it's made me a better dad, a better husband, all the above, a better coworker, all those things, better friend, because when I feel better about myself, it's easy to be loving towards everybody else. And that, like you said, you got to love yourself. Once you love yourself, it's easier to love others because you just have love.
Well, it's going back to that energy. Like love
Yeah.
is a significant source of energy, and when you go inward and you do all this work on yourself, and people always say, do the inner work, do the inner work. What does that even mean? It just means that we're going inward to know ourselves, to find ourselves, to love ourselves, to nurture ourselves. And that's like that's where the holistic health comes into play. Like especially for you and I mean, obviously I'm a holistic health coach, going back to school to like more in depth with Ayurveda. What I've learned in these past years is how to really take care of yourself and to love yourself. I mean, we have mean, we owned a CrossFit gym for 8 years and really focused on the nutrition, really focused and hammered in on the fitness. We were really good at it. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that there was anything else I needed to work on. I'm like, that's what I need to work on. And then I'm going to work on it and I'm going to do a dang good job at it. And I did, and so did you. And we made sure our community did. That was in the gym that we had, and it was wonderful until I got sick and I didn't know why. I was like, what is going on? Like I think I eat right and I'm working out right. Like, why am I sick? And come to find out I wasn't working on the whole picture. And so with holistic health, like for you and I, really focusing on it, that's where I found the love for myself. Like this really profound, deep understanding of who I am. And I'm still trying to find it, but I'm like, I'm there. I'm just gonna keep. I think I wouldn't say I didn't scratch the surface. I think I'm like midway, and I still know I need to go deeper. But it's been really profound. It's been this amazing experience, and I will like puke this information onto people, and some people just don't want to hear it, and that's totally fine. But it's been such a journey for you and I, and for our marriage too, and like the conversation and the depth of our conversations has never been better. And it's been because we both have taken the time and have given each other the space to go and work on ourselves and to find ourselves. In no way, shape, or form are we saying like we didn't separate, or like it wasn't like
Right.
that. It was more of like, I give you the space. I am not going to judge you, or I'm not going to be jealous that you are taking this time to go work out, to go read a book, to go for a walk in the woods, to meditate, to, go to these events by yourself, to learn about yourself. Like, go do that. Go do the men's circle. Go do these women events. Like, you go and do that. And I think for our listeners, especially, allow your significant other to do that. You're not one person. You are two separate beings. And once you learn who you are and how to love yourself, your marriage gets better, your sex life gets better, your the way that you parent gets better. All of these things are absolutely more, they're just, I mean, everything's better, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not a one size fits all. I mean, it kind of is, but like the whole dynamic of the relationship is so much more in depth. It's just, everything is amazing. You know what I mean? But I mean, obviously, we still have work to do, and we still
And we
have
forever will.
arguments and all the things. But
We will forever have work to do. That's
yeah,
why we're on this earth, is to go through a process. It's not a and that's, I think, a misconception that us as humans have, is that once I do this, I will be happy. Once I do this, I will be.
happiness is now. Happiness
Yeah.
is within. Happiness is loving yourself.
And that's easy to say for us right now because, we get that. Now, does that mean that's how we live every moment of every day? No. But we know deep down that living in the present now is what happiness is, regardless of what's going on. And the moment you can start to realize that, the moment things overall in life are just going to get easier, because, what happened yesterday doesn't matter anymore. The more you worry about that,
The more depressed
the
you'll
more
be.
depressed you're going to
Yeah.
be. And the things that are going to happen tomorrow don't matter right now. And the more you think about those, the more anxiety you're going to have. So if you're depressed, you're thinking too much of the past. If you're anxious, you're thinking too much of the future.
I just actually today I was listening to my class through my Ayurveda school, and one of our teachers said that she heard from one of her gurus from India when she lived in India. He said, Katie, did you know that anxiety, you cannot feel anxiety? You don't feel anxiety. Anxiety is not a feeling. It is just a thought. It is just you overthinking. And so when people say, I have anxiety, I'm feeling anxious, da 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 da, it's not even a feeling. And yes, I get it. Like, I suffered from anxiety for a really long time, like to the point where I had to go to therapy for it. Um, and I even went to the hospital, like emergency room, because I thought I was having an asthma attack or something, and I didn't even have asthma. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it's funny because you say this, and every time you start to get anxious, what do I say to you?
What's wrong? What are you thinking about?
What are you thinking about? I
Yeah.
don't say, I
Why
don't
are
even,
you feeling
I don't
anxious?
even
Yeah.
say what's wrong. I just say, what are you thinking about?
Yeah.
Because I know that once I can read your symptoms, and I know once you start
What is
getting
my
anxious,
symptoms?
you start to breathe, you start to try to catch your breath. It's like a, like you're trying to get a deep breath. And I know right away. And I'm like, what are you thinking about? And then you and I tend to have a conversation, and I'm not saying it immediately goes away, but I at
Pretty
least,
quick, yeah.
but I at least, because a lot of the times this happens, because that's how your mind works, is that your mind is thinking about all this stuff without you realizing that you're thinking about it. So the fact that I acknowledge it and say something to you, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I am thinking about something. And then you're able to address that and move on and release that anxiety. Now, that took us years to figure out, you and me years together. And I don't know how long it went on before I met you,
My whole life.
but it
Yeah.
took you and I working together years to figure that out. It's not perfect yet, but it's a hell of a lot better than it was when I first met you. I mean, yeah, you went to the doctor for it, you did all kinds of things, and they just said, you have anxiety. You want some medication? And
No.
yeah, I mean, that's the path it went.
Yeah.
And now you still have some anxiety, but
Yeah, but
it's
I know when I know how to control it now, and like if you acknowledge it, or if I am if if you didn't, I mean, you catch it before I catch it typically if we're around each other. But if I can't catch my breath or my mind's going a million miles an hour, I meditate or I do pranayama, which is breath work. Um, I take a bath. I take care of myself. I might do abhyanga, which is like a hot oil massage, dry brushing, hot tea, something to take care of myself, to nourish myself, to love myself, and to go inward. Because if I keep thinking about something, I have to remember, like, whatever I'm thinking about is not that important for me to not be able to breathe, to have like this racing pulse and like this weird, bodily reaction to these thoughts that are going on in my mind because I'm overthinking
mhm.
about something. So I think that's so important because so many people suffer from anxiety. And I have a ton of holistic health coaching clients that have anxiety, crippling anxiety, like to the point where, a lot of them are on medication. But if we can recognize it and we can start to really love ourselves and to nourish ourselves on some deep levels. And that's why I like Ayurveda so much, is because it is the most beautiful way to take care of yourself. And it's one of the oldest known healthcare systems in the world. Very natural, very holistic, and very loving. And it's just very, it's a spiritual and physical and emotional marriage of taking care of yourself. And it's just beautiful, especially like I know it's good for men too. I'm not a man, but for women especially, like as people who are always, and men take care of people too. I guess that's a wrong way to say it, but just for people in general, it's a wonderful practice. And so if you do suffer from anxiety, try meditation. Try a guided meditation. Try guided breath work. There's some free resources on YouTube. You can do that. Um,
Learn to be present.
Learn to be present, but also like Google some Ayurveda practices, some different healthcare practices, some self-care practices that you're like, oh, that sounds interesting. Maybe I do want to try a hot oil massage to myself. Maybe I do want to try a castor oil pack and read a book. Maybe I do want to take a hot bath with some flowers and some, whatever it might be. Maybe I do want to wake up every morning and have breakfast watching the sunrise. Like there's
Before the kids wake up.
before the kids wake up. Like that's amazing. And so trying to do those practices for yourself is beautiful. It's wonderful.
All right, let's talk about our trip to Arizona because we got another one coming up here, and
We're going to do a podcast while we're there too. We'll use our little portable microphones that we have from Gatlin and we'll
1 week,
do
little
that.
over
Yeah.
just over a week away. But last time we went to Arizona, we flew into Phoenix. We picked up our camper van, which we got through Outdoorsy. So if anybody's listening and they're interested, reach out to Christina or I, and we can give you a code and you can get a discount. And then I think we get a little kickback too. So it's a win-win for everybody. So I'm going to make that plug. But we picked up our camper van and then we started heading towards Sedona. And we went to the Grand, we spent some time in the Sedona area, and then we spent some time at the Grand Canyon.
Well, and if you don't know, you get to camp for free in Arizona, and these different government roads. They have these different roads that you get to. I don't, what are they called?
Bureau of Land Management.
Okay, yeah, Bureau of Land Management roads, and you can. And at first, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna drive down these roads, and we're gonna camp. Like this just seems kind of weird. But there are like legit campfires, like fire pits and spots to park your vehicle, and nobody was around. I mean, there was barely anyone around except for when we stayed in Sedona. And so if you do go on these trips, it is amazing. You can go camp for free, keep driving, and there's some really good spots, beautiful spots.
So we had it all planned out. So we'd wake up early in the morning. We would, depending on where we were parking, we would make some breakfast right there. We had a camper van, so
doors wide open.
We had everything we needed to make breakfast. We would make eggs and and some vegetables. I mean, we always had we ate
bone
awesome.
broth.
We ate awesome. It was great. We had a coffee pot, which was key. It was perfect. And then we would go and we would hike for a few hours and we'd check out a few different places. And then about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I called it, go try to get lost. I would look at Christina and be like, all right, it's time to go get lost. And we would drive and we would find these BLM roads and we would drive as deep into them as we could to try to get as far away from people as we could. And
you would have probably went further because I kept stopping you when the road would get muddy. I'd be like, no, don't go any further. I don't want to get stuck.
Yeah. But we would go until we get as deep as we could, and then we'd park and we'd start a campfire and we would turn on some music and we would make some food, and we had some lawn chairs and we had a table, and we would take a shower outside, and a warm shower.
Yeah,
it wasn't hot by any means.
It was hot.
It was, but you only had a certain amount of water, so it was.
Mine was hot because my husband lets me take a shower first,
yeah.
So my shower was always hot.
Anyway,
he's nice. I'm always the passenger princess.
Yeah,
wherever we go.
But
Very lucky.
It was amazing. We would, and so we would find a place to camp at like 5 o'clock, and then we'd spend the next few hours while the sun was going down. And if you did it right, you could find a good place where you could watch a beautiful sunset. And that's where it was just so freeing, like just to be away from the chaos of everyday life. Christina was super excited about going to Sedona, and wanted to see Sedona and wanted to go check out some of the shops. And I think we went into Sedona one day and we were in town for like 2 hours, and she looked at me and goes,
let's go back out in nature.
Are you ready to go? And I'm like, what? We just got here. And she's like, yeah, I don't really want to be here anymore. And we did. We left town. I mean, Sedona is a beautiful town. It really was. It had all these beautiful shops. It had all these beautiful places to eat. People were drinking and having a good time, and people were loud, and we just like, let's get out of here. Let's go.
Well, the seclusion and being in nature, I think, really connected us. You know, when you're connected to nature and you connect to, you're literally living back into nature. Like, and that's what we are. Like, and that's where so many of us, we get lost, not like go get lost out in the woods. I don't mean that. We get lost in our life because of materialism, of this consumer mindset of let's live in these boxes and then go sit in these boxes and go to work, and then we're in a box and a box and a box, like in these enclosed environments, not connected to nature at all. We don't have to go to Sedona, right? And neither do you. You don't have to go to Sedona. You don't have to go to Arizona to experience this. I think that's something to be said for to our listeners, is that you can go, if you're from this area, you can go to the Harchie Center, you can go to Devil's Lake, spend a whole day there, go camping, take a tent, go pitch up a tent, go pitch a tent, and go connect again. Put your feet on the ground. If you have some grass, you got a backyard, take your shoes off, put your feet on the ground, sit, be, and just be present in nature. And it is a game changer. It'll shift your mood, it shifts your mindset and all of these things. And we are very blessed and very lucky to be able to go on these trips. But I know some people aren't, and that's okay. But just know that you can still get these things and still be able to do these things by stepping out your back door and go walk on the river, go find all these different nature reserves, these state parks, all these different places that you can connect again.
Yeah. So this year we're gonna go probably get even more into nature than last year, because last year we spent a lot of time in the Sedona area, which again was beautiful. But this year we're gonna try to get all the way up to Zion National Park in Utah. So we're gonna stop at Sedona. We're still gonna check out.
Well, we missed a few vortexes because they were closed. So
Yeah,
we're going to go check those out.
and there's a couple hikes there that we didn't get to because just we didn't really have a schedule and we didn't really have a plan, and we just kind of were winging it. And there was times that we were just like, let's just chill today.
However, there's a funny story though. So we'd go to these different parks, and like if we had to go to the bathroom or whatever, because we had a bucket in our vehicle, and it was just like this composting toilet. We had to go to the bathroom. You want a real toilet, right? So we're looking for these bathrooms, and we stop at these parks, and there was a place that we're like, oh, this kind of looks cool. Like we should stop here. And we did. And someone was like, oh, there's like a path over here. It's like not touristy, right? And so we went through this like secluded path, and we were kind of excited that we're going to go sit by the water. And we start getting down there, and all of a sudden I look over and I'm like, oh, there's a bunch of naked women. Like it was just a bunch of naked women all over the place. Not a bunch, maybe. I mean, there was like 10, 5. I don't know. I think it was like
Well, it was probably like 5.
5, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, and they weren't, they had their shirts off, right? They had some bikini bottoms on, I think. I don't remember. But it was just kind of funny because I was like, yes, this is like fun, because people just are so free spirited and didn't give a crap. And I looked at Brian and he's like, do you want to leave? I said, no. I'm like, I'm fine. And I'm like, are you comfortable? He's like, probably, yes, I'm very comfortable. It's fine. But it was just a funny story because we, went down there, and it was just shows you like how free people were. Like it was just it wasn't a nudist like place
No.
or anything like that. It was just a bunch of women, like just,
There was plenty of clothes people there too.
yes. And
So,
it was,
not a lot, but there was. I mean, there wasn't a lot of people
we
there.
were not
There was-
at a nudist beach or anything
no,
like
there
that.
was
It was just a
probably
spot.
only like 15 people there. And,
Yeah.
And yeah, so
It was just kind of fun. Like we went down there, we put our feet in the water, and we walked, and just like I think that was like a really, maybe it wasn't a connection spot for you. Maybe you were just off staring somewhere else. I don't know, but I'm just kidding. But I just remember like that was just a funny story because we walked down there and it was, whoa, like what's going on? I'm like, oh, it's fine. It's just free spirited women, like they're doing their thing and loving life, and let's just go on our own little path over here and go do our thing. But there was some really cool spots in the Sedona area that we got there a little too late, and there was a really beautiful trail. Do you remember what it was called?
I feel like it's Fork something. I can't remember. It's on my list.
It was beautiful, and we only got like, I don't know, a tenth of the way into it, and it was getting dark, and we turned around because it was getting dark and cold. And but this time we're gonna do
Yeah,
that.
that's one of the top ones. I'm trying to see if I can pull it up. I have it saved somewhere. West Fork Trail, I think it was called.
Yeah, it was really pretty.
But that's one of our big spots. Yeah, West Fork. That's the name of it. So we will hit that up this year.
Yeah.
We're also gonna hit up the Bridge Trail, I think, and then what was the other one that we didn't get to do?
I don't remember. I'm just the passenger
Yeah,
princess. I
yeah,
just get to come along. But um for this to end our episode, I think just remember growing together, learning together, doing these beautiful things together. Get back into nature. And if you are somebody who is on the fence with meditation, give it a try. It has literally changed our life to the point where we are so we still have work to do, obviously, but we are so connected with ourselves that we are finally feeling like we are starting to know what our purpose is in this life, if that makes sense. Like I mean, we still don't know what our purpose is. But we're on the right path, right?
yeah.
We feel like we're on the right path, and we're growing together. Our marriage has never been better. We we see the beauty in so many things, and then in everybody, and it's just been a beautiful journey. And so, if you are somebody who is looking for that help, maybe your sex life is not so great. Maybe your marriage is not so great. Maybe you're not in the right marriage. Maybe, that's okay too. But listen to this. Like, if you can get to the point of working on your inner work and doing this work yourself and loving yourself so much that it just radiates out. And then if your significant other can do that work as well, it's like this big old love energy bubble, like ball of light that just radiates. And it's a much better time than in this life. And what else can we do? You know what I mean? Like we need to love ourselves. We need to go inward, and we need to, at least we personally believe that our purpose on this planet is to radiate love and light. Like,
Yeah.
just, it's literally what we're supposed to be doing. That's what we're here for. And if we can't love ourselves, then what's the point?
Yep. Everybody's going to be happier. If we're radiating love, we're going to be happier. The people around us are going to be happier. So focus on you. And that's just going to spread throughout the world if you can focus on you and radiate that love, because you're just going to share it with everybody, and everybody else is going to feel it, and they're going to start to share it with others. But back to that meditation, don't give up. Meditation's not easy, but like you had mentioned before,
Life-changing.
you don't go into a gym expecting, not working out ever in your life and expect to pick up a 400-pound deadlift. It takes practice and it takes time. Meditation's the same thing. It's going to take time. It's going to take practice. And, you just got to stick to it, just like anything. And it's not easy. But it's worth it. So yeah, give yourself.
And if you are on YouTube and you check out these free resources and you try these guided meditations and you're like, wow, that one stunk. Like, that was not
Find
great.
a different one.
Find a different one. Sometimes people, people are not always for you. I mean, we're not for everybody, obviously. Right. And that's okay too. Like, if you don't like it, maybe you don't like the sound of someone's voice, or maybe you don't, resonate with their energy, then find someone different. Maybe you need to find a shorter one.
Yeah.
There are so many different ones that you can look for.
Start out with 5 minutes. That's how I started.
Even two.
I started out with 5-minute meditations. Should be able to knock out 5 minutes. Just sit there. Even if your mind's racing for 5 minutes, you should be able to sit there for 5 minutes. I am up to 20-minute meditations now. Not always. 10's kind of my sweet spot, but 10's almost getting to the point where 10's a little short. So, and that's pretty cool, because I struggled with 5 minutes a year ago.
Yeah.
Almost a year ago today, I struggled with 5 minutes. So
that's a good point too. Like, so a year ago it was 5 minute struggle, and now you're at this 20-minute mark, which is 20 to 30-minute mark, right? And 3 years ago, I struggled with 5 minutes. I just kept thinking about all the things I had to do, all the things that were just on my mind that were not really that important.
Mm-hmm.
And now I told my husband, I said, if I didn't have a husband and children, I would be a monk. Like I would love to just be in the presence of myself and energy and just to feel the inner essence of myself and of, there's so much, it's so much deeper than myself. But I could sit for hours for meditation. And that's just only been 3 years. Like it's been quite the journey. So again, if you're looking to strengthen your marriage, strengthen your relationship, strengthen the relationship with yourself, highly recommend meditation. And if you are somebody who's closed-minded with it, maybe you have some beliefs that, tell you that you shouldn't do it, learn, research, do your due diligence when it comes to understanding what it actually is instead of giving it this face of negativity, because it is so not what what some people think it is. It's a very beautiful practice and it is extremely good for you. So many health benefits come from meditation.
It's going to be good for you, and it's going to be good for everybody around you. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what we're here for, is to make the world a better place. So,
well, we'll see you guys next week.